here's an interesting topic for today, or conversational piece for you to have with you and your family amongst yourselves. The place where octopus end their lives.
This is the Octopus Garden, the biggest known aggregation of octopuses on the planet. Here, thousands of creatures have come together in one spot, about 2 miles below the ocean surface. The garden stretches along the coast of Central California, but despite the name, humans didn't create this place. It's all natural. Researchers first stumbled upon thousands of octopuses nesting on the deep ocean floor in 2018, shocking people worldwide. It took researchers several years to thoroughly investigate, but they finally pieced it all together, and they had a lot to figure out. Just a gentle reminder to hit the like button if you haven't. Just click it, and the octopuses in this garden were in really weird positions. They were upside down with their limbs twisted and wrapped around their bodies. It's like someone turned them inside out. Scientists have documented 5,718 octopuses covering an area of 6 acres at the heart of Octopus Garden. According to the team's estimates, the total population in the 820-acre garden could easily exceed 20,000 octopuses. Turns out that these deep-sea octopuses of the Mussooctopus robustus species migrate to the garden for mating and nesting purposes. In other words, they only come here to continue their lineage. They don't do anything else. It all starts when both male and female octopuses arrive at the garden. Females are on the lookout for a warm spot to lay their clutch of around 60 elongated sausage-shaped eggs. While brooding, mothers cover the eggs with their bodies, protecting them from predators getting too close. That's why females contort themselves in such a peculiar way. It's a defensive posture.
Oh, okay, so they're dying protecting their loved ones. I mean, that's no different than us, you know? What we go through, what women go through. How many women you know of that have died on the delivery table? So they're a lot like us in that aspect. And you know what I mean? And plus we'll die for our kids. So if you don't, then I want to be around you.
Throughout the incubation period, females sustain themselves using reserves from their own tissues while also tending to the developing eggs. It's worth noting that the garden discovered in California is the largest gathering of octopuses ever found by scientists. So basically, there are other gardens like that, which they also call nurseries because octopuses breed there. Another nursery was discovered not far from the coast of Costa Rica. However, the discovery in California still amazed scientists. Firstly, because of the sheer number of octopuses, and secondly, these creatures are typically solitary, preferring cool water. Everything scientists saw didn't quite match up with the information already known.
Right, because it's like maybe 1, 2, even 10, 20, but to have that many die protecting over top of their eggs, like, it's still got to be some type of reason behind that, though.
These octopuses were sitting on a hydrothermal vent. The heat from the vent helps eggs develop faster. It's simple. The colder the water, the slower the embryos develop. Researchers studying the garden expected octopus eggs to hatch in about 5 to 8 years at freezing point, or possibly later. Surprisingly, the baby octopuses emerged in less than 2 years instead. The warmth from thermal vents boosted the metabolism of both the mother octopuses and their offspring, reducing the incubation time. Regular 5 to 8 years carry too many risks for offspring. Turning from an egg to an octopus is no easy feat. Large gatherings of octopuses like the garden attract predators. Living alongside nesting females is a diverse community of invertebrates that certainly welcome unhatched eggs and vulnerable hatchlings, especially since there isn't much food at great depths. There's also the risk of injuries and infections lurking around. Basically, it's tough being small at the bottom of the sea. A mother octopus only has a limited amount of time to protect her eggs because her own body's resources are running low. The longer it takes for the octopuses to hatch, the higher the chance that the mother won't make it. The shorter the incubation period, the better the chances for the offspring to survive, and the more time the mother has to protect them. So picking up the pace seems like a smart move. Just so you know, based on different information, natural incubation without any heating can actually take anywhere from 5 to 10 years or even more. So the fact that the garden's offspring pulled it off in 2 years means they did it 5 times faster. It's sort of like if human pregnancy only lasted less than 2 months instead of 9. Hopefully, something like this will be possible someday. Someone might wonder, how did scientists dive so deep into the ocean and study it for so long? Do they have their own version of Steve? Well, it's all thanks to modern tech. Researchers set up a camera at the bottom, snapping pics and telling octopuses apart by their scars and quirks. Turns out all the octopuses in the garden were adult males and females ready to reproduce. Their numbers were growing, but there were no youngsters or teens around until the offspring hatched. Okay, let's figure out why the temperature is higher in the garden, causing the octopus babies to grow faster. Just to remind you, it's located about 2 miles beneath the ocean surface, on a little hill close to the foot of the underwater Davidson Mountain. And it's this mountain that's the key factor because it's a dormant underwater volcano. The water around here is a chilly 35 degrees Fahrenheit, which is quite cold. But in the octopus garden, it's a different story. The water heats up to a toasty 52 degrees. When scientists first found the octopus garden, they saw something they called shimmering water. This happens when warm and cool waters mix, suggesting undiscovered thermal springs nearby. Further research conducted by scientists has confirmed that octopus nests are located in crevices bathed by hydrothermal vents. In other words, female octopuses have chosen the warmest spots for incubating their eggs. How do hydrothermal vents work in general? It's simple. Water seeping beneath the ocean floor takes heat from the Earth's mantle, then comes out through volcanic rocks like Davidson Volcano. Unlike hydrothermal vents, which form on the crests of ridges and shoot out streams of hot water, making them easy to spot, these thermal springs are truly mysterious. They release warm water that dissipates just a few feet above the seafloor, making them very difficult to locate. They can only be found thanks to that faint shimmering. Those octopuses in the garden hit the jackpot with the temperature being perfect. Down below, there are some seriously hot springs. If a female octopus were to lay her eggs there, they'd cook in a flash, like hard-boiled egg quick, if one can say so. At the same time, cold water's like putting the brakes on for octopuses, no matter how old they are. Octopuses are ectotherms, i.e. cold-blooded creatures, so deep sea temperatures slow down their metabolism, which basically means the chemical reactions happening inside their cells. Simply put, it's how their bodies get energy from the environment to grow, develop, and reproduce. So all the important stuff needs that energy. Faster metabolism means more energy for the body. For octopuses, this surplus energy from warmth is used for nurturing their eggs. And the greater the energy, the faster baby octopuses emerge. However, everything has its limits. You can't crank up the temperature even higher and expect octopuses to speed up so much that they hatch in just a week and become adults right away.
I wonder if that works with us. You talk about even with childbirth. I wonder if they ever looked at that in the sense of saying, okay, hotter, cold temperatures, hotter, colder environments may speed up or slow down pregnancies. Even them tossing around the word metabolism has my gears turning. Because we all know the older we get, our metabolism slows down and we put on weight and different things like that. So maybe we can figure out a way, temperature-wise or some kind of way to help speed it back up. I don't know, man. This kind of got like the juices flowing for me, man, because I don't even think we've explored that concept, or maybe if we have, I haven't heard about it.
According to research conducted on the Octopus maya species, if the water temperature exceeds 80 degrees Fahrenheit, female octopuses stop laying eggs altogether. And if they've already laid some, those eggs die within a few days. Like most other cephalopods, the octopuses in the garden die after mating. The males die immediately while the females die after hatching their offspring. Having so many dead animals in one place is like a feast for scavengers, or more like a buffet. They'll always have food no matter what happens. It's not like some females, for example, get lucky and survive one breeding cycle, then decide to go for another. During the entire incubation period, which by the way lasts a full 2 years, females don't hunt at all. They simply don't eat and depend entirely on what they've already stockpiled before reaching their maternal phase. In the meantime, invertebrates await the end of their incubation. In this video, for instance, you can see a sea anemone devouring a dead octopus. The waiting paid off. The self-destruction of female octopuses, regardless of their species or habitat, is a topic that fascinates scientists greatly. While many animal species die after reproducing, the behavior of octopus mothers stands out for its disturbing nature. Not only do they stop eating, but some actively seek to end their own lives using any means possible. Once they've fulfilled their reproductive duties, these females may bash themselves against rocks, tear at their own skin, and even consume fragments of their own tentacles. It looks like utter madness. Researchers have now found chemicals that seem to regulate this behavior. After an octopus lays its eggs, there are changes in its body. The production of steroid hormones increases, and then there's a biochemical shift that seals its fate. But that's a topic for another video. Let's head back to the garden. A time-lapse camera captured how nesting females push away octopus carcasses to keep scavengers from getting too close to their eggs. Despite having enough food already, scavengers are always on the hunt for more, especially in the depths of the sea where food is scarce. Big scavengers like giant grenadiers, a cusk eel, whelks, and sea anemones feast on octopus remains. They must feel pretty happy down there, as the garden offers 72% more food for scavengers compared to the surrounding waters. These scavengers, fish, shrimp, sea stars, and snails build a thriving ecosystem sustained by deceased octopuses. Meanwhile, in similar rocky underwater areas, the animal population is less varied and less dense. As the hatchlings emerge, they head off to survive and grow up elsewhere. The mother dies, eaten by scavengers, and a new female promptly takes her place. Remember, they pick crevices for nests, cozy and warm spots, but there's only so many. Plus, as smart as octopuses are, they're unlikely to worry over who died in that spot. Nature is cruel. It has one goal: to ensure offspring come into the world, and everything else doesn't matter. A new cycle begins.
That's the interesting part. We've come to know that octopus are pretty much one of the, if not the smartest in that whole ecosystem down there in the ocean. So the fact that they haven't figured out how not to die while giving birth is interesting to me. Or maybe they just choose not to. That's a possibility as well. But I just find that interesting because we've always heard about how smart they were.
So recently, scientists thought that groups of octopuses were something unusual, like a rare find, almost an exception to the rules. But nowadays, octopus gardens are popping up more and more often, and they're not always clustered together. It seems like this phenomenon is more common than we thought. As of today, researchers have identified 5 deep-sea octopus nurseries, 2 off the coast of Central California, 2 off the coast of Costa Rica, and 1 near Vancouver Island in Canada. The first nursery was discovered in Costa Rica in 2013. The cluster of more than 100 octopuses was in a hydrothermal spring located about 100 miles off the Pacific coast of Costa Rica at a depth of 10,000 feet. These octopuses also incubated eggs, but not a single clutch survived. The second discovered octopus nursery was the one near Davidson Mountain, the one we mentioned in our video. Then in 2019, another one was discovered not far from Sada. When we say not too far, we mean about 10 miles away, which is quite a journey for octopuses. Just recently, in 2023, scientists discovered a new nursery in Costa Rica, followed by another one in Canada. Let's take a closer look at the most recent nursery. It all began with methane bubbles bubbling up from the ocean floor, bursting through. This creates carbonate rocks, which later become homes for animals. Despite the cold, these places are where Granellodon pacifica octopuses have chosen to raise their young. It just so happens that this deep-sea creature holds the record for the longest incubation period. The female takes care of her nest for 4.5 years. Perhaps other animals from our video would have broken this record if not for the dormant volcano that warmed them up. One of the most intriguing mysteries for scientists is how octopuses manage to find their nurseries. They might stumble upon a future nursery by accident and decide it's a great place, or they might discover it, remember the location, and then return when it's time to reproduce. It remains a mystery how far octopuses migrate to nesting sites and whether they return to their birthplace like salmon. Octopuses have a keen sense of smell, allowing them to track the scent of many of their deceased relatives, even if they've been eaten by some anemones. It seems like these places definitely need protection, and sure thing, Davidson Seamount and its octopus garden are being protected as part of the Monterey Bay National Marine Sanctuary. Climate change, fishing, and mining pose threats to deep-sea areas. Protecting the unique environment where deep-sea animals gather to feed or reproduce is critical. Yet effective protection requires a careful study of the garden. Scientists are currently on it because despite prior research efforts, many intriguing aspects remain unexplored. Today, within the boundaries of the wildlife reserve, it's prohibited to search for or extract oil, gas, or any other valuable minerals. Also, drilling, any kind of digging, and constructing buildings are not allowed. If a ship accidentally runs aground in this area, it cannot be abandoned. Anchoring the ship and leaving it unattended is not allowed, and neither is leaving any harmful substances on board. Disposing of substances is also prohibited, as well as interacting with local species, introducing non-native ones, attracting great white sharks, using motorboats, and even flying too low over the water. This list isn't nearly complete. It might be best to avoid that area altogether to prevent accidentally breaking any rules, because they take monitoring all the rules in the reserve really seriously. They patrol by land, air, and sea. They use small boats and big patrol ships to protect the area, and the rangers keep a close eye on literally everything. Most individual violations usually occur in small areas and happen within a short period. However, some types of violations happen frequently throughout the reserve, like the hunting of marine mammals or birds. Punishments fail to stop people. Breaking the rules in the reserve can lead to civil penalties of up to $140,000 per day. Besides fines, those who break the rules might have to foot the bill for cleaning up their mess and restoring the natural surroundings. Any gear involved in the violation, like boats, tools, or equipment, could get seized until the court sorts things out. When rules are broken in a wildlife reserve, it often means breaking other federal and state laws too. This can lead to fines, the possibility of having property taken away, getting arrested, and even facing criminal charges. Just so you know, interfering with law enforcement officers' investigations or activities within the reserve is also considered a criminal offense. It's amazing how scientists weren't scared to study octopuses. The power of science, right? Did you remember to hit the like button? If not, it's not too late yet. See you later.
So, whoa, before you leave, check this out, right? They recently scanned the Titanic wreck, and I think they got some new footage and different things they're showing.
We're heading into the middle of the Atlantic now because we're going to look at one of the most famous shipwrecks of all time, the focus of all those documentaries and Hollywood movies. But there's one version of Titanic we have never seen until this morning.
That's right. Experts have used special technology to map the entire ship on the ocean floor and create its digital twin. And our science editor, Rebecca Morrell, has been given exclusive access to the project.
Nearly 4,000 metres down, in the murky depths of the Atlantic, the Titanic. It's so huge that in the gloom, cameras can only ever show us tantalising snapshots of the decaying ship, never the whole thing. But now a new project has revealed the wreck as it's never been seen before.
There aren't many places big enough for the wreck of the Titanic, but this is one of them, the stadium where the 2012 London Olympics was held.
A full-sized scan of the wreck has been captured, and to appreciate its scale, we've superimposed it in the stadium.
The Titanic was simply colossal, and this 3D scan reveals the wreck in it.
That's a 3D scan of it, bro. Yo, that's insane. I was like, that kind of threw me in the beginning. I'm like, yo, how did they do that? Yo, that's next level right there, bro. I wonder, I got so many questions. Like, is this like literally how it is down there? And if you go inside, can you see like a direct replica of the inside of the way it looks down there?
Its entirety. For the first time, we have an exact digital copy of the real thing. And what you see here is what's lying on the floor of the North Atlantic Ocean. And not only can we get an idea of the ship's enormous size, this scan also gives us a close-up view of its smallest details.
You can explore the wreck from every angle. The boat deck here can be seen from above. The gaping hole provides a glimpse inside, where the grand staircase once stood. And this...
Still don't like technology, some of y'all? Still hate technology? Don't get me wrong, it's parts of it I can't stand either, but when you see it do stuff like this, come on, man, you gotta hop on board. You gotta hop on board.
This is what's left of the Captain's Bridge and the wheelhouse, covered in fragile stalactites of rust. Already some remarkable detail can be seen, like this serial number on a propeller.
What makes this different, it is a true digital twin of the Titanic. The resolution is phenomenal. genuinely phenomenal. I've not seen anything of that resolution. This will allow scientists, historians to re-understand how the Titanic came to be where it is, and it's also it's a snapshot in time.
The Titanic was scanned last summer. Submersibles were deployed, remotely controlled from the ship. They travelled the length and breadth of the wreck, back and forth. 700,000 images were taken from every angle to build up an exact 3D reconstruction. The wreck is in two parts. The bow is still instantly recognisable, more than 100 years after it sank. 800 metres away, the stern, though, is a chaotic mess of metal. It collapsed as it corkscrewed into the sea floor. In the surrounding debris field, items are scattered. Ornate metalwork, unopened champagne bottles, and personal possessions too. Dozens of shoes resting on the sediment. Despite how extensively the Titanic has been explored, there are still many fundamental questions. The hope is this scan could provide answers.
We really don't understand the character of the collision with the iceberg. We don't even know if she hit it along the starboard side, as shown in all the movies. She might have grounded on the iceberg. And this photogrammetry model is one of the first major steps to driving the Titanic story toward evidence-based research and not speculation.
The sea is taking its toll on the wreck. Microbes are eating away at it and parts are disintegrating. Time is running out to find out what happened on that April night in 1912, when more than 1,000 lives were lost. But the scan now freezes the wreck in time and allows experts to pore over every minute detail. The hope is Titanic may yet give up its secrets. Rebecca Morrell, BBC News.
It's amazing, isn't it? Absolutely incredible to see it. And we're delighted to say we're joined now in the studio by Anthony Geffen, who's the Chief Executive Creative Director of Atlantic Productions, one of the firms behind this project. I bet you still can't quite believe it when you see it on the screen like we have this morning.
No, I mean, this is the first time it's been revealed, and it's been a long time coming, a huge amount of work. But it's amazing to actually see it now, and the detail is phenomenal. I mean, they've literally captured one-to-one resolution on a digital twin, which is pretty extraordinary.
Talk us through the detail. What can we see that we haven't seen before?
Well, I first went to the Titanic about 5 years ago on an expedition because nobody had been to the Titanic then for 14 years. And what we were looking at is what's the state of the Titanic. And it was extraordinary, and Titanic just captures you in a way. So what I really wanted to do was to be able to go back and break new ground, to actually capture the Titanic in a way that we could properly use science to look at what happened on that fateful night. And we met up with deep water specialists, Magellan, and they mounted an extraordinary expedition to the Titanic to capture literally every rivet, every detail, using scanning and other technology. And that gives us, I mean, what I never dreamt we'd have, an ability to literally look around the site to find out what happened, or we will find out because the journey's beginning now, to find out what happened on that fateful night, but also the details of the personal stories. You know, we can actually tell from the wreck, we can see personal details and tell personal stories.
Which is really important, isn't it? Because I think sometimes we get fascinated, obsessed with the structure of the ship. Understandably, phenomenal achievement to build and then lose. But it's all about the people.
It is all about the people, and I mean, you know, just a couple of examples of what the scientists are already coming at and what's coming out of the wreck. We can go to Boiler Room 1. And Park Stevenson, one of the Titanic experts, has worked out that when it actually imploded at the top of the boiler room, and so it was alight when it into the water. So we now know that boiler room was the boiler room, and who's in it, who were keeping the lights on that allowed so many people to escape the Titanic. What a personal, what personal moments that is. And then,
because that's always been a mystery, isn't it?
It's always been a mystery as to what happened. And then another mystery is people like Officer Murdoch, who's always been accused of not launching the last lifeboat. But if you actually go to there, you find a tiny little davit, which is was still blocking where the lifeboat should have launched. So we now know that, in fact, he was trying to launch it. I mean, this is just the beginning of so many. And then there's the debris field, this area of about 3 miles wide, where when the boat went down, a lot of the belongings of people were spilled out over the ocean. And we're using artificial intelligence of faces and other details of each passenger to actually say, who is that watch? You know, whose is that Megalodon necklace that we found on the bottom of the ocean? And that, I think, brings it back to life. I mean, it's 111 years ago, but it's bringing it back to now, and I think allowing...
And now I need a new movie. Once they gather all this information and all this stuff, this could change and rewrite. I need a new movie out of that, bro. That gives us a totally different script once they get all this information. It could be different than what we all learned it to be way back when.
People to go on a journey today.
You just said you found a necklace at the bottom of the ocean. It's not that one, is it?
No, it's not. We haven't yet found that. But, you know, you've got to understand this is masses of data. And the experts are only just beginning to find, you know, extra detail. We found a cherub that was inside the main staircase area. I mean, all these details, you know, day by day are coming out.
And one of the things you said earlier is you said, we're going to find out what happened. And you've given us some of the personal stories. Don't we kind of know what happened? We had Parks on the programme earlier on this morning, and he gave us his theory. Do we really know what happened?
OK, what's happened is, and, you know, great explorers have been down to the Titanic, Ballard and Cameron and others, but actually they went with very low-resolution cameras, and they could only speculate on what happened. We now have every rivet of the Titanic, every detail, and we can put it back together. So for the first time, we can actually see what happened, and we can use real science to find out what happened. Now, I didn't think that was ever going to be possible, but it is, and it's now being captured, so it's very exciting, and it will take a long time to go through all those details. But
it's okay. I'm willing to wait. Me personally, I can't speak for everybody. I'm willing to wait, bro. I want to know. I've been covering and following and researching and looking into this ever since I could, bro. Ever since I could type.
Literally week by week, there are new findings that we never knew existed.
In 2012, for the centenary of Titanic, I went to the wreck site for breakfast on a ship. And we didn't go down, but we just stayed on the surface of the water. And on board that cruise ship were hundreds of families whose ancestors were on board Titanic, and many of them perished. And I know that some of them are a little worried about the intrusion, the diving. They think it should be left as a grave site on the bottom of the water. What do you say to people who think that this is a little intrusive and we should just leave it?
With all our projects, we've involved family members of survivors. And all we can say is that a large number want to know what happened. And don't forget, this is totally non-intrusive. This is, you know, none of this technology ever touches the Titanic or goes anywhere near the Titanic, so it's non-intrusive. The bodies are long gone because of the conditions down there. And I think, you know, I would hope the majority would want to find this out. But it's very important that whatever we do, and we're doing it, we do in conjunction with the families of the survivors.
Anthony, it has been fascinating to talk to you and to see those images this morning. You know, it's one of those things, isn't it? You think you know what happened. We actually don't know at all, do we? You're finding out so much more.
Yeah. And I think, I love the fact that we will be able to, in the future, not just we're making a film about it, obviously, you know, all of us will be able to walk we'll be able to walk among the wreckage of the Titanic. And I think that's pretty extraordinary, really, and a new way of experiencing history.
OK. Anthony, thank you so much for sharing those with us this morning, for coming in. Really appreciate your time. Thank you. Thanks.